What is going on, everybody? I am back today to talk about a film that is a little bit older, but there's a reason why I wanted to talk about this film, and the reason is I just recently reviewed Coraline because Coraline came back in theaters for a couple of days, and I absolutely adore that movie. And that movie was put out by Laika Studios, and Laika has been around for a while now. I believe they've put out 5 films in their catalog so far, and I've only seen 3 of them, so I thought that this would be a perfect excuse to go through and revisit the ones that I have seen and watch the ones that I've never seen before, because the films I have seen from Laika Studios I've really liked. So I planned on watching these in order. And so the first one I'm going to be talking about today is ParaNorman. And I actually saw ParaNorman when it was in the theater, and I've watched it a couple of times after the theaters, and I'm looking forward to telling you my thoughts on it today. ParaNorman is directed by Sam Fell and Chris Butler. In the town of Blythe Hollow, Norman Babcock can speak to the dead, but no one other than his eccentric new friend believes his ability is real. One day, Norman's eccentric uncle tells him of a ritual he must perform to protect the town from a curse cast by a witch centuries ago. So, like I said, I saw this in the theater. I've seen it a few times since, but it has been a few years since I've revisited it, and I absolutely loved this film revisiting it. I don't think it's as good as Coraline, but I still really love it for what it is, and I think that it says a lot for both adults and kids alike. So ParaNorman, obviously we're introduced to Norman at the beginning of the film. He's at home and he's talking with his grandmother, and his dad ends up coming in the room. The two of them have a little bit of a back and forth, and you find out that his grandmother is dead and that Norman has the ability to see dead people, and we get this really cool shot at the beginning of him walking down the street waving at all the dead people, but we don't see anything, so we're like, what is he doing? And then when real people come by, he just kind of stops and doesn't say anything to them, and then he goes back on, and we realize he's greeting all of the dead people in his town. And you can tell early on Norman is an outcast at his school. He gets bullied a lot. His dad really isn't all that close to him. His mom loves him, but they don't really talk a whole lot. His sister is really hard on him. The two of them don't seem very close, and his uncle is constantly following him around at the beginning of the movie. And what we find out from his uncle is that there's this curse cast on the town by this witch, and that if Norman doesn't go to her grave and read her this story, that the dead are going to be brought back to life and they are going to terrorize the small town that they live in. And that's the movie, is Norman trying to figure out how to stop this curse and stop the dead from rising again. So, like I said, I really love this movie a lot, and there's multiple reasons for that. First up, easy one to get out of the way, the stop motion animation in this is absolutely gorgeous. One of the things I love about Laika is that they stick so close to the stop motion animation format, and I think stop motion is beautiful. And one of the things about stop motion is we don't see a whole lot of it, and that is because it is tedious and time consuming. And when you think about having a figurine that you move an inch, take a photo, move, take a photo, move, take a photo, it becomes a very time consuming process. And when you see how many years a lot of these stop motion animation films take to make, the amount of money you have to spend on it, it's probably why a lot of studios don't take risks on them. But what I love about Laika is they've always stayed true to that stop motion animation format. And ParaNorman, same in the vein as Coraline, it's absolutely gorgeously animated. Every frame in this is just so interesting to look at, every little minimal detail. Outside of the animation, the vocal performances in this are all really good. I think they picked good actors to play each one of the characters. I think they do a good job embodying those performances and really making this world interesting and fun to watch. I also love the homage that this pays to like 80s horror movies. There's obviously a heavy zombie influence in this, but just 80s horror as a whole. You can just see, like, at the beginning, Norman's watching this like cheaply made horror movie where like the actress is pushing the boom mic out of the way. There's all this like goofy stuff going on where you can tell that the creators of this movie really love horror and really have a passion for horror, and they wanted that to show through in the movie. And I love that these movies, especially the first two in Laika's catalog, Coraline and ParaNorman, they have genuinely frightening moments. There's periods in this where I feel like if you were a kid watching this movie, it's gonna unsettle you and make you uncomfortable because it's showing you things that you wouldn't necessarily expect in a children's movie, with zombies being in this. You have limbs flying all over the places, heads coming off, and it's really fun to watch, and it's a good gateway into horror for young kids that are interested in the genre. But the biggest part about ParaNorman that I really love is this idea of being being an outcast or being different and struggling to live your truth because of the way that other people view you, and just wanting to live your life and be accepted for who you are as a person. And I think when you think about marginalized groups of people, this movie speaks volumes to that, and just wanting to live your life and being persecuted for who you are. Obviously, this tells a story of a witch who is burned at the stake when she's very young, and the whole Salem witch trials era, and how people were falsely treated and accused of these things that they didn't actually do solely because people were scared. And I think that that's so indicative of our culture today, and how many marginalized groups are treated differently just because of who they are. And I think that that speaks volumes for both kids and adults alike. And I loved revisiting this and realizing that the message is just as poignant now as it was when the movie was released in 2012. And it was such a fun experience, and I think it's like such a contained story. It's a very simplistic story that takes place over one night essentially, but the directors do such a good job at making it such an immersive world that you never want to leave. Similar to Coraline, I really love the score to this movie. I think it accompanies it really well, really creates that mood and ambiance and tone that you're looking for in this type of a horror film, and it's just a lot of fun. I think that that's what these movies need to be more than anything else, is fun. And I think between all of those elements that I said before, you do get a very fun experience. I don't think it's as strong as Coraline. Not all the jokes land 100%. Some of the pacing isn't perfect in the movie, but I don't think that that detracts from the fact that it's a really fun watch, and I can't wait to revisit ParaNorman again in the future. It was an absolute blast. So have you seen ParaNorman? Did you love it? Did you hate it? Leave me a comment down below and let me know what you thought. I thought this movie was absolutely fantastic. I had so much fun with it. I thought everything about it was incredible, and I can't wait to watch more in Laika's catalog. As always, if you can like the video and subscribe to the channel, helps me out a lot and lets me know the type of content you're looking for. Always putting out new material, and look forward to getting more out for you in the near future. And as always, everyone, thank you so much for watching, and have a great rest of your day.